pea flower. We put, Chuck salvaged some of these, like 2 of them, from a rescue site years ago, and we planted them at the northmost part of Mead Gardens in our restoration area, and they have spread all through there.
It's everywhere now.
Tortoises love peas. You can see them eating those, the puffy flowers of the mimosa that we planted along the path. So this is a good native plant. This is like our only upland fern. This is bracken fern, Pteridium aquilinum, and it's on your list. The Elliott's milk peas on your list. Blueberries. It's like a shiny blueberry. There's the Darrow's blueberry also. It's got a little pinker foliage, new foliage, and these are, of course, growing. They used to be about this tall. You can see the size that they were, and they form little thickets. This is a wild buckwheat. The leaves are this nice rusty kind of color on the underside, and you can see the new growth, and the new stems are kind of rusty. This is a really nice plant, and there is a listed scrub species of these, or Sandhill, and their leaves are a little bit more linear, and instead of the rusty hairs and scales on the back, they're brilliant white silky hairs. So that would be the rare one. Oh, oaks.
That was what?
Hypericum hypericoides. It's one of our native St. John's worts. And you can see that it's got a kind of elongated X formed by the petals. Let's talk about the oaks while we're here, because the oaks are on your list, and they're really important component of these dry habitats, and there's a number of them here. So this one, who knows what this
Turkey
one?
oak.
Turkey oak, yeah, because some of the leaves, not these big ones, look like turkey tracks. More like the ones that have 3 lobes, I think, look more like turkey tracks. But yeah, this is a nice deciduous tree, typical understory tree with longleaf pine areas in dry habitats. This one right here is, what do you think? It's leathery, and the leaf margins are curled under slightly, and it's white hairy on the back.
I was going to say sand live oak.
Sand live oak. Say it, say it.
It doesn't look curly enough.
Right, because it's on this seepage slope where it gets some moisture on the soil coming from the upland. It's also shaded. So this is a sand live oak. And you can see on the bigger ones, not so much this one, but that instead of like the bark being in big long ridges, it's in little cubes or little rectangles on the trunk. There's a better one there. And this is a plant.
Baptisia.
Okay, good. We'll see those. Let me just do the oaks real quick. So this is something we don't get to see very much of because it's at the southern end of its range. This is a sand post oak, Quercus margareta. And you can see that it's sort of like the turkey oak, but its lobes are rounded. And Longwood, the city of Longwood area is as far south as this grows.
And what's that called again?
A sand post oak.
Post oak.
Post oak. Quercus margareta. It's on your sheet.
Yep.
Obviously, this area fairly recently burned. And that's very important for this grass here because they tend to only develop fertile seeds after they put out new growth after a fire. I don't really know why that is. But so you can see that there's a lot of seeds developing on this wiregrass. It'll be seeding out this winter. So that will be a good thing to repopulate this area with grasses. Poinsettias. It's a really beautiful plant. If you look at it closely, you can see that it's very silvery on the backside. Have you noticed anything particular about a lot of the plants that we've talked about? About the leaves and the stems?
They got white underneath them.
They have white, or their hairs, or some kind of silvery or rusty, waxy plates, because that's an adaptation to living in a really dry habitat where they would tend to lose water by evapotranspiration more rapidly if they had big flat leaves that stayed out all year long. So this is an adaptation to this kind of habitat.
What was the name of it?
Croton,
Oh, Croton.
Oh, those are
Okay.
crotons.
Argyranthemum or something like that. It's on your list.
Oh, yeah. Silver croton.
That's what I was thinking, that
Argyranthemum,
buckwheat.
yes. And SH3. But it's a really pretty little inflorescence. And they bloom typically in the fall and spring. Grasses, a lot of wiregrass, some other grasses mixed in, and then wildflowers that change with the season. It is Asclepias humistrata. It is typical of these sand hills, and
That's a milkweed?
that's
A baby.
well, it's a resprout.
It's a resprout, probably.
There's
yeah.
probably a big root under there. So it's resprout.
Right.
Beautiful leaves and a cluster of white flowers on it. Really, really pretty.
Ate them all.
Hopefully they'll
But
come
they're
back.
they're coming back, but there are a couple.
Oh, here's another day.
Flower passed over.
Asclepias humanata.
Some milkweeds.
Milkweed, yeah. I had
Asclepias. Oh, it's the pine woods milkweed.
Here's one about to flower. We don't get to see these very often, or we don't notice them. This is Fibanthus, P-H-O-E, Fibanthus Grandiflora, and it's a common plant in these pine lands.
Good sized yellow flower.
Big
Yeah,
yellow
exactly. I
flower.
mean, normally we would see it probably in flower.
This,
right now.
this stuff looks like a grass, but it's a hedge.
Oh yeah, some kind of Cyperus glomerula that have the split beards. And look how this
I love the
the
color of
internode
the-
color is red.
Red.
Really, really beautiful. Let's see. Arctatus, Andropogon arctatus, pine woods blue stem.
What's the last one?
It's on your sheet.
That size right there?
No, that's another Andropogon.
Oh, okay.
That might be the split beard. Turnarius. See how these leaves are big and tall and green and really flat, bright yellowish green.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at the base where the leaf blade comes off the stalk, you will see that it's got this kind of tongue-shaped flat piece of tissue here, which is a ligule. And that helps you to identify this grass when it is not flowering. Just look,
Oops, sorry.
just pull, see that tongue
Oh,
shape?
yeah.
Except that it's so it has little dry capsules instead of fleshy fruits like the blueberries do.
But is it rusty or ferruginous?
It's rusty because there is one that's called fruticosa
Fruticosa.
that the leaves are not as papery and it's kind of obovate and a little bit fleshier. These are really papery and they roll under. This is a lichen. This is the British soldier lichen.
Oh, okay.
It's when it's the fruiting bodies, it's like these are tipped with red.
Yeah.
And so this is Cladonia.
I planted 25 of them.
I
I'm
know.
supposed to know it.
This is gopher apple. This is white. Its new growth has white felty hairs on the backside, and despite its short stature, these will grow so that like 90% of its biomass is underground. This is actually a shrub. It's low growing, it's fire adapted. You see it on roadsides in a lot of places like up around DeLand and Deltona. On the roadsides there'll be big patches of this, and it's very adapted to being mowed if it's not being burned. But it produces a cluster of little pink flowers and then a fleshy pink and white fruit that apparently gopher tortoises like to eat. But honestly, I've eaten them, and they smell hideous. which you wouldn't think that it would be that. Really pretty. Look at the blue flowers.
We haven't been told what it is yet.
What's
It's-
it called?
Eryngium.
Oh, orange.
Eryngium aromaticum.
But that's not its common
Yeah,
name.
I like the arrangements I found it.
This is typical of sandhills, and this is called skeleton grass. It's got wide leaves that are almost in one row, and then it's got this forming panicle that's really just a bunch of bristles going straight up, and these will turn purplish. There's some over there, there's one right there. Look at the new leaves. See what color the back sides of the leaves are. This is called deerberry. It's Vaccinium steminium. Steminium gives you a clue to some character of the plant, which is that it's bell-shaped flower because it's in the blueberry family, but it's kind of a half cut off bell, and the stamens are really long exserted below that bell. Oh yeah, see the bright green plant shrubs with the tiny little pinnate leaves? That is Delia Pinata, and in a month or so, all of those that you see green in the distance will just be capped with bright white little flowers, and then once those are ripe and the seeds disperse, you'll see the brown sepals, clusters of brown sepals, which are really pretty. I used to have these in my neighborhood in the Panhandle growing up, and I would sometimes pick off the flowers stalks and pick out the white flowers and just be left with the little brown, which made me think of straw flowers, like tiny little bouquets of straw flowers. But yeah, this will be really pretty, and you can see it's different from the last area. The first area we looked at the sandhill because the burn has happened farther in the past, a year or so ago.